Hello and welcome back to the worst War Machine channel on the internet. I'm Dorian, and this is another response video. Can you believe it? You know, with our last one here, we were talking to somebody that thought that War Machine sucks. I'm now doing another one. Is it because this whole channel is going to be a response channel now? I'm going to be talking about Suicide Squad and my thoughts on politics. No, that's not really the plan. This is still your normal, War Machine update type channel. However, the Watchful I Studio put out a video that had a shout out / challenge to me, and what it was really all about is that over there they had opened up a couple of mystery boxes, and even though they have a lot of War Machine and is interested in it, they haven't played a lot of War Machine. So they thought it'd be a good thing here to kind of do a little bit of overlap and say, all right, I'm going to open this up and I'll do like a box opening video, but Molorian, what would you do with it, right? If you're going to be taking this to be making it more of a competitive type list, what would you do with it? And I think this is a very interesting thing to be talking about, even though this is like a video more so for their mystery box. This is something that's good to think of for all the mystery boxes. For those who don't know, basically once a year it seems, Privateer Press puts out these boxes that are really they're kind of put out as like, hey, it's kind of a mystery. Well, we're going to be grabbing things from our warehouse. They're going to be worth at least this value. Badoosh, you don't know what you're really getting. Although, I mean, it's been coming out lately that you can make a request for what faction you want, and then they're usually pretty good with trying to meet that. But yeah, you just get this stuff, and you don't know what it's going to be. Sometimes it's a colossal and stuff. Sometimes it's some units. Sometimes it's a plushie. You don't really know. But looking at these, a lot of players are probably wondering how easy is it to take this and then try and make a list with it. And although, there's a lot of different boxes out there, it's nice to try to be thinking about how viable some of these things are. So that's what I'm going to be doing. In fact, in part of the challenge there, the idea is it going to be fun and competitive? So, also the idea of like, okay, look, we don't want to say, this is a Signar box. Oh, just add in a bunch of hunters and then you can just be making a big range list. No, there's actually something here like, okay, I want it to be competitive and enjoyable to play with. So there's a little bit of that in there too. All right, so I think the very first thing I'm going to be starting with is what was opened in the box opening. There were two lights. There were a Chimera and a Gorgon, and then there were a whole bunch of infantry. There is some halberdiers, there's some riflemen, and then there's some Rysovas defenders. And actually in the video, they're like, oh, I don't know if I'm saying that word. This is all like elf stuff. Who knows? Do your best trying to say that. There's going to be some other ones in here I'm going to be saying, I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. Who cares? We're all just playing with these. I don't think even Privateer Press always says these things the same way either. So when I looked at this, a couple of lights, that's not something you can really base a strategy on. However, that infantry really kind of pushes you down a certain way. Especially when I looked at it, it's like, well, what theme can I actually play all this in? Because the way that I'm going to be taking this is that I want to use all of it, right? If I just said like, oh, I'm going to keep this one little jack and then completely rebuild into this, and that's not really staying to the core of what this is. I want to be using everything in this mystery box and then trying to make a list with it as I punch my mic. Now, with that there, the only theme that you can be doing this all with is in Defenders of Ios. Now, in this one here, I mean, sure, you can use all those things. You get some extra stuff like your Electromancers and your Stormfall Archer units and your solos. They gain repo. Okay, that's a good one to have. Another one here is that you get a wall before deployment. Okay, I mean, the main thing is I want to say here is that this is going to be saying what theme we're in to be picking other options, but as well, looking at those theme benefits, there's not really a strong reason to be going towards some units over others. So at least that's open, right? If you got into this and it was really like, yeah, warjacks get flank or something like that, I'd be like, okay, I guess we better lean more into the jacks or something. But for that, there's nothing else there. Now, the next thing that we have to really consider is our infantry, because out of everything, yeah, that is the most significant thing we got. And unfortunately, we're in a spot right now where infantry is not highly competitive in the meta. You have to be using it very carefully, because there's all these things that can like kill a model move, or just coming in with a whole bunch of attacks, killing a whole bunch of models. So if you're going to be playing infantry, you have to be having a really good reason for it. And we have kind of a spread of infantry. Like, you know, if I would have seen in here that we had 2 units of halberdiers, right? I might have wanted to be going with something like Assyria, where Assyria sometimes says, okay, let's get on there. We're going to rush up the board and we're going to try and just like swarm you with halberdiers or something. That's kind of more of an older version in Mark II, but you can make something like that work now if you really wanted to push for it. So I looked at it, I thought about it, and the one that I decided to go with for our caster, so we have a spot to really start with it, is going to be Lord Gearshield the Forgiven. You know, this one here, you know, like that's another one where like the word of it. Am I saying it right? I don't know. It's the elf. Who cares? But the main thing here is why I feel this will work is the feat. Now, the feat of this is going to be when an enemy model without cold immunity destroys or removes from play one or more friendly models in your caster's control range with a melee attack, the enemy model becomes stationary for a round after the attack is resolved. Additionally, when a friendly living faction warrior model is destroyed by an enemy attack or collateral damage made from an enemy attack while in the Gearshield's control range, Gearshield also gains the destroyed model's soul token. So the main thing here I'm trying to get across is that you're weaponizing these infantry, right? You can be going up there and they almost don't need to be doing work. If they're just in the way and your opponent attacks them with that, you know, that Malvin and Mayhem that wants to hit and move and hit and move. Well, you hit and kill the first one and now you're stationary and everything's being done. If a big heavy comes in, loaded up with focus, I hit the first one and now I'm stationary and I'm done. So that's fantastic, right? That's something where you're really controlling the board and controlling them coming in. Now, note that's only against melee attacks, which is why some of the other good stuff that's here on the card are things like having the if I could see the thing, Freezing Mist, which is really just the ability to put down for 2 focus a 3-inch cloud. And there's some stuff where if things go into it and they don't have immunity cold, they're -2 to hit. The main thing here is they're putting clouds down. So you could be doing 3 of these clouds per turn pretty easily by using it with other terrain, really protecting your infantry coming forward. As they die, you could be doing things like Revive. I don't think you're going to be doing this very often. It's nice to have things like Dauntless Resolve to be keeping things alive, stuff like that. Ghost Walk, we need to be getting through things. You know, probably the more other part that's important on the card is just his own weapon, because what it does here is a nice reach weapon, P+S 15, that's okay, but it has freeze. So again, as long as you're not immune to cold, boom, you're stationary. And that's going to be working into some tech we're going to be talking about here later. So, okay, that's good. We have a plan that we can now be using this infantry and making them a little bit more viable. But let's actually look at them and see what ones we want to be leaning into. Now, the first one there is the House Guard Halberdiers. And the House Guard Halberdiers, they're still fairly solid, especially if you put in their UA, their unit attachment. What it really has is, sure, you have things like, you know, granted repo and, you know, team effort, though, is the big one you want to be looking at. Because what that's really doing is saying that you get +2 to your attack and damage rolls for that one turn there. It's a little mini feat they can do. So that's really fantastic. Really kind of takes their damage output and goes, whoop, puts it right up. So that one's fantastic. The other one there, the Rise of Vast Defenders, you know, they don't really have a UA. Their neat thing is that they're going to be having the Precision Strike so that they can be going in there and they have a little bit higher defense because of defensive line, but with Precision Strike and then also with their Weapon Master, they're actually doing pretty good at saying like, okay, go after this Jack. I know we can't do a lot of damage, but we can do a lot of damage to cripple this system. And that can be the type of thing that you're actually going for. Maybe you can't do enough damage, you can cripple their cortex, but hey, we're going to cripple their main weapon so that they can't hit back very hard. Or if you've already done some damage, okay, where'd you do the damage? Great. will go in here to cripple that movement, cripple that cortex, whatever it is, they can kind of go in and go after it. So, okay, that's kind of cool too. Now let's talk about the House Guard Riflemen. So they are a range unit. They're Rat 5. They're POW 14. Range 14, POW 10. Boy, if it was POW 14, that'd be pretty interesting. But otherwise than having like practice maneuvers, they are basically long gunners from Signar without the second shot. That's not very good. Now, where they can get interesting is when you actually put the unit attachment on them, and then that allows them to do their combined melee, or combined range rather, into melee. Now, what that does is something more like the Steelhead Rifleman. Now, what you can do with the Steelhead Rifleman is that same type of thing. They want to be up there close with the halberdiers. Sounds a lot like what you have here. And then when something runs up to engage your halberdiers, you're combining in and you're killing those models, and then the halberdiers can keep pushing forward. However, problem number one is that this is assuming you're living in a world with little infantry models that are going to be running into you to tie you up. We're not seeing a lot of infantry models right now. It's more likely that the things running up to contest you will be an Archon, and there's not really enough power here to be taking them out. And if you did see that, you also kind of need Tactician to make this work, because even though with their rule there, what is it called again? The practice maneuvers, they can see through their own unit, they can't see through others. Now for the Steelhead, they have Tactician, so that's a little bit easier. You could space them out to make those things work, but it's just not something I really think you want to be leaning into here. It's just not going to be worth it in my eyes. Now, we're not taking them out. What we're going to be doing them is just saying, okay, we're not going to be using them as intended. We're going to go and just not give their UA and put them in the front line. Malorian, you're crazy. Range units should be in the back. They should be shooting through your units being safe. The halberdiers are protecting them. That's how you should be normally using them. True. However, we're not going to be using them in a standard fashion. They're going to be standing in front of the line here, taking their shots, killing things wherever they can, maybe picking out some solos, getting in some initial damage, but they're going to be the ones that's going to be soaking in the initial attack, so that when they do finally get to us and they can't attack us, they're coming into our riflemen, which aren't really doing a lot for us, and then as they do that, they're stationary, and we can countercharge in with the halberdiers. As I said, we put in that UA with the halberdiers so they can get some work done, and if half the unit's dead because of what came in on them on the feet, well, they can't really hit back very hard. If those attacks were made killing riflemen, that's great. And now, who has the reach to get them? The halberdiers behind. So that's the general strategy of what I'm looking for. Now, in order to make this sort of strategy work, where I am hiding behind a cloud wall and I want you to come into me, I need something that's going to more so entice you to come in. So what I have done is put in some more of the new hotness here to beef up the battle group, which is two, and here's another one where I'm not sure if I'm saying this right, two Eternae. There are two of the new Veer heavy warjacks that have the accumulator with the Eloweir, and they have armor-piercing POW 8 guns. So first of all, they can be there putting out extra damage, being like, all right, if you don't come into me, I'm going to keep on chipping away. And again, you also want that chipping away so that, remember those guys there, the defenders that can go and precision strike stuff? You want that so that your riflemen and the Eternae are working together to get some initial damage so that the defenders can start crippling those things. Plus, this is a jack that has a nice reach weapon that's good and strong and can get in there and do some real work, so that after they've actually come in, you need to finish those jacks off so that they can't continue on their way through your line. So I think they're fantastic. Some other things I thought were automatically good to put in here is 3 Arcanist mechanics. You know, you have a lot of jacks, you have a caster that wants to be doing a lot of things with its focus, so you know, it's good here to have stuff that can either be empowering or making you stronger. The other stuff that I put in here were my free options, because that actually fills you up really already between the UA and that Bella group and the mechanics. So the 3 things I put in here is, first of all, I put in Iris Mage Hunter of Ios. Now that's first of all so that, sure, you can be doing something like shooting and forcing things to come in. There's also that nice disruption part. So if you want to be controlling the stuff that's coming in, okay, that Jack, it's now disrupted, it's not getting focus, that's going to help me control you. But man, oh man, disruption paired with stationary does wonderful things. So let's say they crash into your lines with like 3-4 heavies. And you're like, oh my god, okay, they're stationary and I can handle them, but what am I going to be doing past this? Because there's going to be some angry jacks hereafter. Well, the nice thing here is that if you can stationary them, then that means that next turn they're not going to have the focus to shake stationary. So doing that type of a combo is amazing. And I think normally you would be doing this here with your caster. Your caster, remember, whenever it hits something, makes it stationary. So you actually want to catch something that's probably not stationary yet and be like, okay, Iris, shoot it. Pew! Disrupted. Okay, they're not too happy. Then your caster goes in and is able to make it frozen. You don't even care how much damage you do. It's all right, you're now disrupted and stationary. You're not doing nothing. And that's the type of thing where they probably thought like, okay, this area is under control because there's a heavy there. There's no way that they would like charge out their caster. Yeah, you can do that now because you're perfectly safe. Do that, make that one attack. You didn't spend any focus, and then be using your focus to make clouds or something to protect you. And you've just completely taken this heavy out of the game. So love that one a lot. The next one I have on here is going to be Scythe, because Scythe's amazing. Again, adding to that range ability. Hey, I want to really entice you to be coming into my lines here. It's also something where whenever you're developing a cloud wall, you are sometimes weak on scenario, and Scythe is a fast model that can get out to contest some things, and if you're lucky and have a forest in the right spot, can be super annoying there. So I really like the addition of Scythe. And the last one here is going to be a House Elawir Warden Executioner. It's one of the solos, hits really hard, has a very interesting range attack as well, and so it kind of fills the role of 3 parts. Has a gun that you can be shooting from behind your cloud wall. That's good. Is a heavy hitter so that once things come in and get stationary, you need to do that work because you only get your feet once. And then the other thing is, because it is that Elawir, that means that those 2 jacks of yours, the artillery a tournay that you put in there, now have that accumulator, so they're getting a free focus. So that a lot of times you don't need to be allocating anything to them whatsoever, right? Especially on the shooting turns, they're just getting that stuff for free. And then when it's combat time, all right, now you can really load these things on. And you could say it's kind of a waste because I already have the mechanics, but hey, mechanics don't always want to empower. Sometimes they want to concentrated power and make them stronger. So this makes it a lot more viable to be doing more of that concentrated power and getting that out there. So yeah, that's what I'd be doing with this. Are you going to take this, walk into a tournament and win the whole thing? No. I mean, obviously you need to get some reps in, you need to understand it and all these types of things, but I feel that this is a strong enough army now that you could walk in and expect to be doing reasonably well. You have taken what you've gotten from that mystery box and set yourself up for success. So hopefully you like this. Now, there is one more thing that you asked me to look into, and that was the idea of, well, what if I also got the battle box, right? So the one thing with these mystery boxes is that they don't tend to be coming with any casters. So it seems to be a good idea to go and just buy the battle group and just be like, burp, and there you go. So I started looking into this one. By the way, the battle group, you're going to be adding in Magister Helena, you're going to be adding in a second Chimera, and then also a Griffin and a Manticore. So this is now adding a real sprinkle of jacks. Almost all of them are lights. And the biggest thing, though, is when I looked into this, is that you are already spending 59 of your 75 points. You know, I really just have 16 points left to play with and my 3 free options. And man, I tried. I played around with this. I'm like, what's the right way to go? You have, obviously still have that infantry block, but now you have all these jacks and most of them are lights, when really probably, you know, Helena wants to be going to a heavy. And you know what? I thought at the end of the day, I'm not going to be trying to make this list, because I kind of feel that whatever you do at this point is going to be just kind of like trying things out. I think the better message here is just that idea that if you do get that mystery box and you add on that battle group box, a little starter box, that's pretty much getting you a full list already. So if you're trying to wonder like, you know what? I've been wanting to get into Warmachine, but I want to do it on the cheap. I don't want to be spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Well, you know, if you wait for those mystery boxes and then just get the starter one, you're pretty much there. You know, then you can see whatever else you want to be jumping into. If you feel like, oh, I want to throw on a mercenary Death Archon, I want to be leaning into the infantry more, I want to try and just put in one more heavy, you know, whatever way you want to kind of go with it, at least that gives you like, you can walk in and play with it. Now, is it very competitive like we tried to make the other one? I don't feel that it is. However, it's something that you can be playing with, right? And so if that's your idea, like, look, I just need to get into this cheap so I can learn the rules. I don't want to be a person that spends $500 on a list just to find out it sucks and then have to spend another $500 to get a new list. I want to get something cheap so I can learn the rules and then I can start making changes from there, right? And I feel like this is what it can do for you. So I wanted to bring that up. I think as a last little bonus thing I want to bring up is that he was asking like, oh, I also play in the Atlanta area. I don't know who I can be playing with. And I found some stuff for you. And what I did is just in the general group, I went there and said, hey, anyone playing Atlanta? Go to the general Warmachine group on Facebook. People are there to try and help you. There's a lot of people on that forum, so you can just go in there and post, and I got several answers right away. Like, oh, you could go here, 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 here. Here's an event that's really close. Like, there's these people that are just there waiting to help you, right? And I'm looking on there all the time. If anybody ever asks, like, oh, I need to find a group somewhere in Western Canada, boom, I'd be telling them right away. So just know that there's a world of people that are looking to help you. Another thing, too, is I didn't even know that this was a thing. It turns out that on basically Warmachine University there, they actually have a full list of these for what's been submitted. And I didn't realize that existed, so I went on there to add the one for my own hometown. Turned out it's already there. I didn't add it, so I don't know who's been bulking this thing up, but it's actually pretty great. So that's the two places I'd be looking, is either just go straight to the forum there on Facebook and just ask in the general group, just like, hey, who plays there? And if not, you can also just try going to the Warmachine University and there, hey, let's look for my hometown, or maybe you're just wanting to go there to add your own. Let's make sure this is a real resource that people can be getting the most from, especially if you have a new group and you're like, yeah, I got 8 fellas that go and play in a garage. Let them know so that new players can find you. So there you go. This is your response to that. You asked me, Watchful I Studio, what could be done with this battle group and this mystery box, and I think we did a good job of that. So there you go. Thanks for the challenge. Thanks for the shout out. We're going to be getting back to the regular, like Patreon pick stuff here right away, but I thought this was a nice, fun, video I could be doing with another content creator. If you want to go and check out their stuff, of course, I have the link to their channel down below, and otherwise, we'll catch you later. Bye.